What did I get so wrong in predicting the Cavs would beat the Pacers? Why do the Pacers deserve so much credit for this? And why, oh, why is consecutive Eastern Conference Finals such a big deal? A lot to discuss on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Thursday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today I am here to figure out what happened, how I got this so wrong. Hopefully, some transparency can be helpful and get you a little bit inside my brain on how I think about playoff series is. As Cavs Pacers is over, the Pacers ran through it. They're the first team to move on to the second round. The Wolves are about 3 minutes away from doing it as I'm speaking now, which means there's a weirdo universe where they're both trying to defend their path to the finals. We still don't know who the Pacers will play in the next round, but we do know the series schedule. We'll get to that today, too, and talk about so much more related to the Pacers' dismantling of the Cavs and their second consecutive trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. Keep saying that to yourself if it makes you happy. It's a very impressive feat by the Indiana Pacers. I picked Cavs in 6. Many of you laughed at me. Many of you said, you host the Pacers show. You shouldn't do that. That's stupid. I'm going to make predictions based on what I think is going to happen, not because of the show I host. But I am going to tell you why I got this wrong. And the first thing I have to say is just straight up this. The Pacers played better than I thought. And this isn't because I don't think the Pacers are good. I think they're very good. They just did. They just did. And they have been better than a lot, like as people suggested. They've been better than their record for a while. That's true. They're a very good team with a style that's demanding to play against. That's true. I just thought very highly of the Cavs, and the Pacers played better than I thought they could against a 64-win team, right? Full stop. That is a lot of where this goes to is that, and they deserve all the credit for that. The Pacers were awesome. Their starting five in particular, just about all of them, met the moment in every single game of the series. Outside of game 3, a lot of them had in that game, and that got them a 4-1 series win. I'm going to run through a lot of stuff that I thought would be the case, or that history suggested to be the case in this series that was decidedly not. And a lot of that can be baked into just the Pacers were better than I thought, and than I thought they would be in this specific series. Now, let me talk about something else before I get to my reasons that I keep seeing from people that I think is dumb and not at all valuable for what the series that just happened was. So since January 1st, I think the Cavs won one more regular season game than the Pacers, but they played different games. Like the Cavs were 34-13, and the Pacers were 34-13 since January 1st. And then the playoffs, it was like 4-0-4-1. So they're like so close in record in the year 2025, right? So people keep saying, why are you picking Cavs in 6? Look at this. The Pacers are just as good as them this year. They're just as good as them. Okay, great. Then the team with home court advantage should be the better team, right? They have the advantage of home court advantage, even though home court hasn't been that valuable in the playoffs. Like, if your argument is, oh, this year suggests the Pacers are just as good, that still doesn't mean that you should just pick them. That means you should favor the home team. Also, those stats and records mean nothing to me because, one, it starts before the trade deadline when the Cavs had literally different players, and two, after they locked up the top 2 seed, the 1 seed, whatever you want to say, they arrested guys a lot down the stretch. They could have had a much better record in that moment. So I don't even think that record, I don't think it, like the since January 1st record is telling of the Pacers, given their season they had, the injuries they had, and how they got better as the season went on. I don't think it's telling of what the Cavs were in the regular season. I think it undersells them a little bit, obviously. Also, you can't just like throw out 32 out of 82 games and be like, yeah, this is fair, even though obviously the more recent sample is more relevant. The Pacers are clearly better in the record, no doubt. But that specific thing that people kept saying for some reason, that held no weight to me. That made no sense. Okay, let's talk about what I actually got wrong. For those not watching on YouTube, I put some graphics on the screen that say Moron and Biggest Idiot Award. I deserve them. I wear them with pride. I got this very wrong. The Pacers proved me wrong. You will get to laugh at me, and I hope that you enjoy that as much as you enjoy hearing about this. So something I thought about the series that would happen, and you know who else thought this would happen? A lot of people, was that Derrick Garland would be way better than this, significantly so. We heard before the series from the Cavs, I think it was the Friday before game 1, which was a Sunday, that he participated in a part of a practice, all of a practice. I can't remember the exact reporting now. It's been almost 2 weeks. But I thought at the time, oh, excellent. This is great for the series. Derrick Garland's going to play. He's really good. And if you heard me talk before the series about part of why I thought the Pacers would have to do a specific thing with their rotation strategy is that Garland on, Mitchell off was amazing. Mitchell on, Garland off was amazing, and both together was amazing. And so if Garland is back and healthy, the Cavs will basically always have a good offense on the floor. He's a very, very good player. So the injury was clearly a factor in what he was, but he was just not close to what I thought he would be, and I thought he would play at all, and it took him 2 games to even play, right? His shot wasn't there. We can just look at stats and tell you that. He shot 28.6% from 3 in the playoffs on his 7 attempts a game. On his 7 attempts in the regular season per game, he made 40%. Maybe that's injury. Maybe that's something else. The Cavs were, in general, struggling shooting, and the Pacers deserve a ton of credit, I think, for the way they defended the Cavs to prevent their good shooters from getting clean looks. That is a Pacers thing, and that includes Garland. Below 30% is still, a little off. But the other part of this that mattered a lot is he got targeted on defense like crazy. Right, the one of the shots of Game 5, as the Pacers were watching their lead slip away, was Andrew Nembhard going right at him and drawing a foul at the basket and scoring an and one and putting the game away. Right, huge basket, well earned from Nembhard, went right at Garland. So the stats that I talked about a lot with the on-off numbers, right, their offensive rating was well over 120 with any combination of the guards on the floor. Their net rating was plus 9.3 or better. In this series, the Garland on, Mitchell off numbers actually were positive for the Cavs. It was only 59 minutes, so it doesn't really matter. But they were +3. That was the Cavs net rating. Their offense was bananas. Their defensive rating was 129.7, right? Garland just got targeted like crazy on the floor, and he could not get close to making up for that with any sort of offense at all. And so that's one part of this. The other part of this is, I just said it, they had a plus net rating with Garland on, Mitchell off. They had a plus 14.5 net rating with Mitchell on, Garland off. They stunk with both. With both on the floor, the Cavs had a minus 10.5 net rating, albeit 88 minutes. All the sample sizes of a playoff series are small. And their offense was not good, 116.5 offensive rating, and their defense was 127. Those are both awful, awful. The Cavs got more value out of groups that had more balance or more shooting or more defense than they did with their awesome combo of guards that was so good in the regular season. And we all watched the series. That's not because of Donovan Mitchell. He was amazing. That was largely because Garland was not the guy that he was so much during the regular season. So the minutes with him and Mitchell became a problem. And the hierarchy was, look, in the regular season, Mitchell did a great job. He took major steps forward this season as someone willing to defer to his other all-star teammates. That's why Mobley got better. That's why Garland had the season he had. Jared Allen had a good year. But the hierarchy in the playoffs says, look, Mitchell's the best player. He's doing his thing. Garland's off the ball more. He has one toe. It's just not going to go as well. And so when he was missing all those threes in the second half of Game 5, it was they can't even play him. They went to Ty Jerome instead of him for the first time of the game. They tried others. It just didn't work at all. Garland was a huge part of what I got wrong. I thought he would be better, and I thought his minutes would go much better. His biggest impact on the series, and this will come up a lot today, is that he was not Ty Jerome. Right? Ty Jerome was worse and much, much worse than I expected him to be, which we'll get to in a minute. And so Garland coming back in Game 3, that was still big for the Cavs. Their rotation was better because Ty Jerome was playing less. I feel so bad for Ty Jerome. He tore the Pacers up in that regular season game, set for a big payday, had such a fun season. I love when guys emerge like that. That's the spirit of the Most Improved Player Award to me, is someone in their upper 20s finally getting it in the NBA. He had an awesome year. He was very bad in this series. He couldn't guard. He couldn't get his floater to go. His threes didn't fall until the very last possible quarter that they could go in for him to have an impact. That was Garland's biggest thing, was reducing the minutes they needed of Ty Jerome. But that is by far the thing I got wrong the most. Garland missed the last 2 games of the Miami series, and I thought he'll be back. We've heard enough murmurs of him practicing that he'll play. The Cavs are going to be bananas good at scoring all the time, and they'll be able to set their defense enough to cause the Pacers problems because they have Garland and Mitchell, and they were really good in the regular season in those instances. In this series, they were not, and I think Garland was the biggest reason why. And they couldn't set their defense as much, and that gets to point number 2. One key part of the Cavs defense that I thought would be more challenging on the Pacers than it actually was. That and my third big point coming up next on Locked On Pacers. Before we do any of that, we need to talk about WayFair. The days are getting longer, the weather's warming up, and people are spending more time outside, which means it's the perfect time to refresh your outdoor space. Whether you're working with a big backyard or a small balcony, WayFair has everything you need to make it feel more like you. WayFair's massive selection of outdoor essentials makes it easy to transform any space into your ideal summer setup. From comfy conversation sets to sleek dining tables and outdoor decor, they've got it all at prices that fit your budget. Get a new patio dining set. Some string lights from WayFair to help extend your outdoor space. I just got new lighting outside. They have so many mixtures of styles. It's super easy to find them. Delivery is free. It's hassle-free, even the big stuff. Whether you're entertaining guests or just relaxing solo, like me, shop WayFair to help you unwind. They have a huge selection of outdoor furniture online this summer. Get outside with WayFair. Head to wayfair.com. Right now, that's WAYFAIR.com. WayFair, every style, every home. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making this big idiot your first listen today and every single day. I promise this bit will die today. Make your second listen Locked On Cavs. Danny Cunningham one last time. Get the Cavs lowdown on what just went so wrong for them in this series. A wonderful regular season ends so early. I was reading about the early exits of teams that had as good of a net rating as the Cavs today. Dan Feldman had it, I believe, in the Dunked On Daily Dunks. It's not often, right? The Suns a few years ago, but a lot of the teams are from a while ago. It's not easy to do what the Pacers just did, to dispatch a team that good, and in this case, that fast. The second thing I just hinted at coming into the break was something I thought the Cavs defense would present challenge-wise for the Pacers. That was not at all a challenge. They switch a lot on defense, and before the series, I noted that I thought Pascal Siakam would be very important. Because of that, we saw him have a really big half against the Cavs in that game in January, where they put a bunch of smalls on him in the first half. Cavs went zone. In the second half, the Pacers were full mix. The Cavs won the game. Ironically, a very fitting preview for what the series turned out to be, that one specific game. But we saw it in game 3 of Pacers-Bucks. And we've seen it in the past that the very best switching defenses and the very best prevent Tyrese Haliburton defenses and good zones, like those kind of teams disrupt the Pacers the most. And the switching the Bucks did in that game was important. And then the next game, the Pacers kind of figured it out. I thought the Cavs switching base defense would give the Pacers more problems, even though the Pacers figure out all these coverages. They're very good at adjusting. I thought they'd figure it out eventually, but then the Cavs would also adjust and do things like they did during the series, like zones and others and prevent and all that. Like, I thought that the Pacers would start a little more sluggish offensively. They did. That's why it was so important that they won game 1. No Garland and shooting the way they did. They needed that game specifically, and they got it. And that was a big thing to overcome, that Cavs switching defense. In the regular season, it was very good. It was the 8th or 7th best defense, and a lot of that's because the Cavs score so much, and that didn't happen as much in the series. But it is still challenging, and it gave the Pacers very unique, at times, specific fits, even though Siakam tore it up that one time. The Pacers lost that game, right? The Pacers do figure out switches on defense. But that's what almost the story of game 2 was to me. The Pacers solved the Cavs early zone, or excuse me, the Cavs early defense. The Cavs switch a little less. They try to get Jarrett Allen out of switches. They try to get certain guards out of switches. And the Pacers couldn't score as much. And they were down 7 with 40 seconds to go and almost lost game 2. Like, that podcast would have been me leading with the Cavs adjusted and the Pacers weren't quite ready for it, even though they played pretty well. Instead, it was an epic moment that required 20 minutes of conversation, so I barely even talked about it. But, like, that is what I thought would be a bigger hurdle for the Pacers. And the guys that I thought would be good against the switches and the most helpful weren't even that good at punishing it until game 4 in Siakam and Turner and Toppin, ironically, in that game. Like, the Pacers solved the switching so fast, not the way at all I thought it would go. One, it happened right away, which, like, of course, the Pacers can score against any defense they've seen at all. I'm not, like, stunned by that. The fact that they destroyed it by just being like, Jarrett Allen, come up here. You're guarding a guard. That's what we're attacking. Like, Jarrett Allen's a good defender, but he had a terrible series in space. Mobley, they went at a few times, which I don't think was very smart, but, like, it was okay. They would use Mobley's guy as a screener more often than I thought they would, and it wasn't as problematic as it should have been. Their guards did a great job of targeting the right matchups. And so I thought it would be the bigs punking smalls that would be huge for the Pacers in the series, and they'd have to kind of adjust to wherever the Cavs were letting them get advantages. Instead, it was the guards punking the bigs, and it happened immediately. Off and running game 1, huge for the Pacers to be able to do that. And the reason I thought it would matter so much is because of literally how the series played out. You score, you set your defense, you have pressure. The Pacers were the team scoring a lot, so they could set their defense and press and do all these challenging things that the Cavs never quite figured out. I thought, much like in the regular season, the Cavs would be the team scoring a good amount, and they would be able to set their defense and have pressure there. But that's how the Pacers played. And that kind of leads to my exact last thing in this. And many of you heard me talk about this even throughout the series, but like ad nauseum leading up to it with all these micro conversations about decisions coming for the Pacers. And that is, I kept saying, I think the Pacers are going to have to, with the decisions they make rotationally, always tilt offense. Like choose the better offensive player or choose the best offensive lineup. Guys who are more out there for their defense might get reduced a little bit in terms of playing time. Ben Shepherd, I thought they might need him for defense, but I figured, at some point in the series, they'd have to play him less and just tilt the offense and go like Mathurin, McConnell, Toppin. That might be it. I don't know. That did not end up needing to be the case. In fact, ironically, by the end of the series, it was the opposite. It was the Cavs who were like, crap, we need to put all three of our guards on the floor. We need more offense. Max Strus struggled. They put all three of Jerome, Garland, and Mitchell on the floor in that fourth quarter because the Pacers were scoring so much. Just crazy to look at their offensive rating in the series. Pacers 116.7. I mean, that is eons above. In the last 5 games of the playoffs for every team, the Celtics have a 117 offensive rating, and that includes the game they just played against the Knicks. Pacers at 116.7. Everybody else is either eliminated or at well below 114. Right? The Pacers' offense has just been ridiculously good. In the postseason, the Cavs couldn't stop them. And that was true that their offense needed to be good in the series, but it didn't really, the thing that I got wrong per se, or that actually surprised me, I guess, is that it didn't really matter who was on the floor that was happening, right? I thought they'd have to tilt offense with actual decisions more than they actually had to do so. They could play their back end rotation guys. They could play, lineups with less shooting than I anticipated working, like McConnell, Mathurin, Nembhard, 2 of those 3, even 3 of those 3 with Siakam. And Bryant was like not a death sentence like it has been in some other moments throughout the season. They were able to do enough to keep up in those moments, right? That they scored well with basically everyone on the floor. I'm not saying every single lineup they played was good on offense or like every player had a good offensive series, but they never were like so terrible and bogged down. Game 3 had some rough moments, of course, but they did a pretty good job of not needing to over-index on offense. And this sounds like some gobbledygook made-up thing, but like they did that last year against the Celtics. They had to do that against Boston. They went offense as much as they could, even when Tyrese was healthy and available, to try to keep up with Boston. And it almost worked. They almost won 3 of those games. Almost doesn't mean anything, but like that's the strategy rotationally they went with. I thought that would have to happen in the series. Instead, they scored well with basically any combo on the floor. Not quite everybody, but they didn't have to tilt that offense strategically. They just scored, besides maybe some bench heavy groups. And even those featured some huge moments. McConnell, up and down series certainly, but had some up moments carrying those bench groups. Thomas Bryant was just the best player on the floor for 6 minutes of Game 5. Ben Mathurin was very good the second half of Game 2 and all of Game 3 and would have potentially had a big Game 4 if he didn't get ejected, right? Like they all carried those bench groups at different times, which helped them be good offensively without having to tilt offense. Just all very impressive, right? That this specific category of the 3 things that I think I got the most wrong are this one is the one that is just like, yeah, the Pacers just played better than I thought. All their players filled their role, played well, and didn't get deterred by big Cavs hits. And they were just great. They were just better. They were just much better than a 64-win team. And the Pacers are better than a 50-win team. Like their record does not display their ability level given how their season started, but still very impressive stuff. So just some stray notes that were a little different than I thought, but not like I need to dive into this for so much time. I thought Jared Allen would be way better in this series. Way better. I haven't been a big Jared Allen guy for a while. He's just really good. He's a good rebounder. I thought that would be a problem for the Pacers at times, and it was, but not as much as I thought. He's a good defensive player. He has size. He's smart. He got smoked on switches. His offense, like his decision-making in the short roll is just a mess. He was great in Game 3. The Cavs won that game. I thought he'd be great more often. Jay Rigdon and I talked about the center battle as being potentially an advantage for the Pacers before the series, and it was. Turner was great. Turner was, quite frankly, better, right? I thought Allen would be better. He was so peak and valley in this series. Injuries were a thing, obviously. Kenny Atkinson wouldn't, say that's why the Cavs lost. Like it certainly made them a little worse. I'm not going to talk too much on that because it's obvious. But I will say this, the healthy guys I thought would be good, like Jared Allen, were not as good as I thought. Ty Jerome was very bad. I thought Dean Wade would look a little more impactful. Right? Isaac Okoro, I guess they used for like athleticism and defense. He was okay. Like they just shouldn't get enough out of they're actually healthy. Oh, Max Strus was good, right? He was not good in Game 5, but most of the series, Max Strus was good. That's pretty much the only guy that was healthy the whole time that I was like, met the moment. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell was hurt. He met the moment, obviously. But, Max Strus, fully healthy, was good most of the time. And that's the next point I have is basically the same one. Ty Jerome, Dean Wade, love those guys. Not enough. Like they needed to be good. They needed to give the Cavs actual rotation diversity, and they couldn't do it. They were stuck using a lot of starters. Why did the Cavs go away from two big groups? Like, it felt like the Pacers struggled with those the most. What was going on at the beginning of Game 5? Evan Mobley right at the basket, Jarrett Allen at the basket. Even though it was clunky at times, it was enough. The Cavs went away from it a lot. They tried to get shooting out there. Oh, I forgot Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill wasn't as good as I thought. He missed Game 5. Yeah, like a lot of guys weren't. Sorry, I just bounced back to him. But like they got away from two bigs too much. They tried to get, some Okoro at the 4 at times. Like, it wasn't very often, but they did that. I thought that was confusing. Dean Wade played a lot. I thought he was good on defense, kind of a pumpkin on offense. Didn't make nearly enough shots in this series. Like, they just got very little out of some guys I thought would be better. They pulled away from too big, which was a good group. Just a lot of goofy stuff from a really good 64-man team. But who cares? I've said all this stuff, and none of it matters. What actually matters is the Pacers were just better. I don't care how hurt a team is. You win in 5, you were just better, right? Kenny Atkinson said it. We don't have to ignore that injuries happened, but we can acknowledge that the Pacers were just the better team, and they're moving on, and they will play the Knicks or the Celtics. We still don't know who, because the Celtics won Game 5 earlier tonight. Going to talk about those two teams tomorrow. But now I want to contextualize the ECF 2 years in a row. I tried to do this with Derek Kramer yesterday. We sold it a little short. I want to talk about that. And the series schedule to close out today is Locked On Pacers. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, Locked On Celtics or Locked On Knicks. Get acclimated with Pacers' upcoming opponent in the Eastern Conference Finals. Will it be a repeat of last year? Will it not? We will see. Speaking of repeats, the Minnesota Timberwolves are also going back to the conference finals in the West. Congrats to them. The weirdo universe where they are defending finals runs exists. Okay, that joke was not funny either time, but I think it's interesting. One, because the Celtics won Game 5, we now know the conference finals will start on the 21st. So that is next Wednesday. No matter what happens, if the Knicks win in 6, which would happen on Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. Regardless, there's still that gap. It would not start until Wednesday, the 21st, and then it's every other day, odd number days until it's over. I guess June 2nd is an even number day for a Game 7. And yes, Indy 500 and Pacers Game 3 on the same day. Wow. So that is official. Not the Celtics won. We'll see where that series goes. I still think the Celtics have a chance. I think the Knicks are obviously the favorite. They have 2 chances to win once. We'll get into Knicks-Celtics preferences or whatever you want to call it tomorrow. Let's close out with contextualizing Eastern Conference Finals berths. This is 10 for the Pacers in franchise history. 10 times. If you're 32 or older, you've seen them all. Very cool, including many multi-year runs, including multiple back-to-back appearances. Teams with more than 10 conference finals appearances, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Spurs, the Bulls, and the Pistons. That's it. Pacers are tied for 6th with a lot of teams at 10. That's great. Obviously, they want more. They have not won a championship. They've only made the finals once. They have a not good record in conference finals. This is still a big deal. Like, getting this far, it's so hard to push that through, because when you lose, it hurts so bad. It feels like you were so close as a team, and fans are always championship or busting. Like, I get that, and like, it's hard to win a championship in the NBA. This is a big deal. And I'm not trying to say that to just like, yay, celebrate the Pacers for doing this thing. I actually want to put into context why it's a big deal. Like, think about players on the Pacers, like James Johnson. James Johnson is considered a great vet. He's never been to the finals, but he's been to the conference finals many times. Like, this kind of experience is still enough that it matters for a player and their resume and like what they're thought of as a playoff guy. For the Pacers, that's funny because they ran it back so much. So all their rookies, here's all the players on the Pacers who this is their first conference finals this year. Johnny Furphy, duh. Enrique Freeman, duh. Ray J. Dennis, duh. And did you guess it? It's Tony Bradley, who got to the second round with the Jazz once, but this is his first conference finals appearance. The only multi-year guy with it. I'll loop back to them later, right? It's a big deal. It is a big deal for players in a franchise. The Pelicans, Hornets, Grizzlies, and Clippers, you can probably see where this is going, have not made the conference finals twice in their franchise's existence at all. Okay. So that's all. Like they would kill to make it 2 years in a row. They'd kill to make it twice at all. The Nets, Raptors, Hawks, Kings, and Wolves have 2 appearances to their name. Actually, the Timberwolves now have 3. That's funny. Remove them. So Kings, Hawks, Raptors, Nets, Pelicans, Hornets, Grizzlies, and Clippers. 8 teams would be like, dang, we really wish we could have this Pacers run at all. Franchise level stuff, right? That's almost a third of the league. I keep coming back to Damian Lillard, who the Pacers have been in the first round 2 years in a row, because of that. His run with Portland, beloved figure with the Blazers. but they made the conference finals once. It's hard. Those teams were good every year. They made the playoffs all the time. Dame was amazing in the playoffs, many moments. NBA top 75 guy. They could not crack through. It was a huge deal when they did, even though they got smoked by the Warriors, right? You could get Donovan Mitchell, who they just beat, right, has never made it. I think of him as a good playoff player. He has never made it. It is hard to do, and it means something from a franchise and player perspective that you can be those kind of players in the playoffs. And this group that ran it back clearly for the Pacers can. And I already typed in my notes. I already read this part. I keep coming back to him. Think about Oladipo. Great player, was the best player on a good team. Could have had a longer run, but injuries derailed it. Like, he's never made the conference finals. How does his Pacers tenure look different if they make it that year? Obviously, they've had to beat LeBron. It would have felt awesome for the team, but it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal, and it's a huge deal for the players for like their own future of being a more sage vet, like opportunities in the league or abroad because of these runs. That's why I mentioned the Tony Bradley part of this. Like, this is a big deal for him, right? He played on the Mitchell Gobert Jazz, a good team. That team won one series with him on it. His rookie year. I don't even think he played in the playoffs. I'd have to check his stats. Like, it's a huge deal to him. This is the farthest he's gotten. It matters a lot to the Pacers. Not even just like legacy stuff, but just like prove it stuff. Think about the Jazz. That team was beloved in Utah. They had Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I just talked about them because of Tony Bradley. Never made it. Always ran into good teams. Couldn't beat them. The Pacers beat the 64-man Cavs team. They beat the Knicks last year in the Garden. They beat Giannis's team twice, even though Giannis didn't play in one of those years. This is a very impressive run in context, statistically, and it's so hard, I think, for a lot of fans to think about that because, like I said, if you're 32 or older, you have seen every single Pacers conference finals appearance in the NBA. The ABA obviously had its own thing. And so you've seen a lot of this level of success. It kind of feels normal. Like, it's not. Only 4 teams get this far every year. Most teams have a 500 or worse record in the playoffs every year, right? It's hard to have a winning record in playoff series. The Pacers went 2-1 in series last year. Most teams go 1-1 and 0-1. It's hard. It's really hard. And the fact that the Pacers have made consecutive conference finals 2 times in the last 12 years, if you're 13, you've seen them do it twice. Like, that's rare. That's not normal. It can be if you get a generational star. The Pacers have done it without that too. Just an awesome run of 2 years. And they have a chance to do more than they did last year, right? Add to their resumes, get a win, become more vets. It could matter to the summer that they made it this far as this team kind of figures out what their spending limits are and what they're willing to do and how they'll build their team. We'll see what they can do. Can they actually win a game in the conference finals for the first time since 2014, since Paul George was leading this roster? I certainly think they can. I picked the Cavs in the last round. I think that both teams remaining in the East are, I think of them now with Tatum out, obviously, as lesser foes than the Cavs. Now, the Cavs that we saw were not as good as the Cavs I thought we'd see, but still, I think the Pacers have a very good chance to feel like the best team left in the East. That's why Rick Carlisle said it feels wide open. That's why they aspire for more. I'd be stunned if they got swept in the conference finals. They'll have a chance at something, and it all starts next Wednesday. So there's going to be a lot of time between now and then. So podcast-wise, I said I'd go every day till they're limited. I'll figure it out. Tomorrow, we will talk about I'll probably have a guess. Who would you rather play as the Pacers, the Knicks, or the Celtics? Does it matter now that Tatum's out who they play? What do they have a better chance of winning? We'll talk more about contextualizing this run too. All sorts of stuff like that. Hopefully by the weekend we know, because then I could get into series preview stuff with guests. If not, we'll figure it out. We'll have some fun. I always do. And I hope you guys had fun today too. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to see some graphics that make me look stupid. If you're listening, you don't get to see it, but I promise it was worth my time to make it look a little sillier. I can take down the diff shirt now. The Cavs part of this podcast is over as the Pacers move on, and I do too. Check out Locked On NBA Game Night to hear Wes Goldberg and I talk about Wolves Warriors Game 5 and Celtics Knicks Game 5. Back tomorrow talking Celtics or Knicks and more about this Pacers run with a guest to be determined. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tony Ariz. This podcast is at Locked On Pacers on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you very soon.